Well, folks, I think we've talked about the ghost walk we do here in Haint before. It's one of my favorite nights where you could walk around town and hear people tell ghost stories, and sometimes we have face painting, caramel apples. This year we got a petting zoo. My name's Joel Brashear, and I am, among a few other things, an Appalachian storyteller. And this is one I heard when I was a little fella at a ghost walk many years ago. It's a little different than I heard it back then, but I call it Red Ball, White Dress. It takes place in Haint, Kentucky, my hometown, where I still live. You can actually go to the spot this story originated, because there was a man 150 years ago named Mr. Alexander, who was one of the most wealthy men in eastern Kentucky at the time. He built a mansion at the confluence of the Middle Fork River and the Rock House Creek. He did this because he was in the log business, and he would float his timber down these two waterways. And as they came together, they would smack and clack. And he loved that sound. He said, every time those logs hit, that's $1 in my pocket. And they wasn't anything Mr. Alexander loved more than $1 in his pocket. Well, he built this mansion right there on the hillside, and it was full of the finest things you could ever imagine. Mr. Alexander wanted to have the best of everything, so it had chandeliers and imported furniture, finest china. It was a showplace. And it stands to reason, if he had to have the finest house with the finest stuff, he had to have the finest wife. And everybody in downtown Haint knew young Jenna was the most beautiful girl around. She had flowing blonde hair. She was strikingly beautiful, but best of all, she was sweet, she was kind, and she was smart. She was a fantastic young lady, and Mr. Alexander had to have her. And whatever Mr. Alexander wants, somehow Mr. Alexander gets. It was a short courtship, and they were soon married. Not long after, Michael was born, their child. It was a complicated birth. Michael had breathing problems, apparently. I don't know if his lungs weren't fully developed or what, but he always had trouble with his breathing. But Mr. Alexander doted on the boy for a time, but as I said, he loved anything more than $1 in his pocket, so he was soon off looking for the next deal, leaving Jenna and Michael there at home. You know, mothers with a sick kid, I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes we baby our young'uns when they're not feeling good. She was definitely guilty of that. She spoiled the boy something awful. Anything he wanted, he got. Now this was way before Xboxes and PlayStations and iPhones and all that. You know, this is 150 years ago. So the best toy anybody could get was a red rubber ball. And Michael had one and thought that was the best thing ever was. He played with that ball up and down the street. He'd kick it, he'd bounce it off of walls, he'd throw it up and catch it. He loved it. But because his lungs weren't super strong, he couldn't play for too long. He'd have to come in and catch his breath. Well, Michael got to be about 4 or 5. When his daddy came back, he'd been gone for a couple months, and he hollered at his mom and said, "Jenna, I need you to come down here. We have to speak." Jenna comes down. She's like, "What's wrong, dear? What's the problem?" "Jenna, we're sending the boy to St. Aloysius, Louisville. It's a boarding school. It's time to toughen him up, teach him the ways of the world if he's going to take this business over one day." She says, "Dear, he's 5. He can't go to boarding school." They start bickering back and forth. Jenna doesn't want him to see that, so she looks at Michael and says, "Baby, you go play with your ball. Let me and your daddy talk." He'd never seen his mom and dad bicker like that before, so it made him a little nervous. So he went out in the yard, started kicking the ball. It went a little further than he probably wanted it to. He kicked it again. Now at the end of the street, the city had brought in some Italian stonemasons, and they were building this beautiful school. It's a huge building. And it was about lunchtime, and the stonemasons had taken a lunch break. But they'd left a little gap in one of the walls they were working on going into the building. Well, nobody noticed Michael playing close to the building. Nobody saw what happened next. It got to be about dark, and Jenna came out looking for Michael, because he never came home. She started calling for him. Michael? Michael? He didn't answer. She got a little frantic. She called for the sheriff, got all the neighbors. Everybody was looking. Nobody could find Michael. It's 2 weeks before they finally decided he was gone. Nobody ever saw him again, at least not alive. And Jenna was crushed. I mean, Michael's her whole world, and he was gone. With the boy gone, Mr. Alexander had less and less reasons to even be interested in what was going on in Haint. He had bigger operations in other parts of the state. Word got back to Jenna that he had another woman in another town. She was just crushed. Her whole world was destroyed. Folks say that she never stopped walking as she came out of her house a couple weeks after Michael went missing. Had her hair done up real pretty, wearing her beautiful white wedding gown. She never slowed down as she hit the creek bank of the Middle Fork River, and the water lapped over her ankles. Never stopped a bit when the water hit her waist, and she kept heading right on when the water went over her head. Washed away. It's a few years later that a ghostly woman in white was seen on the street in front of that school between where Mr. Alexander's house was and that building. It looked like she was searching for something, maybe calling out. Nobody ever heard anything, but folks thought they might remember Jenna when they saw her. A few years after that, that school had opened, and kids were running around and having a big time. They'd put in a nice basketball court. They had a janitor named Albert who was heading down to the basement one night after the kids had gone home, and he heard crying. And he hollered down and said, "Hey, what's going on down there?" And he looked down and he saw through a little boy sobbing. And the boy said, "Mister, have you seen my ball? Have you seen my ball? I can't find my ball. I can't find it." Albert never went into the basement again because he said that little boy vanished right in front of his eyes. Michael played ball at that school for many years after that. Anybody who coached or played ball can tell you, you had to lock up the basketballs after practice, because if you didn't, they'd be rolled all over the gym floor the next morning. I even heard tell one time somebody walked in and there was a ball bouncing at half court. Nobody bouncing it, but it was sitting there. There's even a bluegrass school there today, and somebody said that they heard a bouncing ball keeping perfect time to a bluegrass song where that basketball court used to be. I don't know if that's true, but I like to think Michael's at least found a ball to play with. It's sad to know that his mom's still outside looking for him. They're so close together, but they can't ever connect. That's a sad one. Well, folks, I'll be back real soon with another ghost story. I hope you enjoy these. I like telling them. We'll be back real soon with another one. Till then, you stay safe out there.